Right now, tensions with North Korea are escalating after the U.S. refusal to negotiate with Pyongyang over its nuclear program. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley saying leader Kim Jong-un can't be taken seriously.
You mentioned the U.S. reevaluating its approach to North Korea. Can you tell us what are some of the options that the U.S. is now considering?
I think all the options are on the table now. We have not seen any goodwill at all coming from North Korea. I appreciate all of my counterparts wanting to talk about talks and negotiations. We are not dealing with a rational person.
Michael Oslin is Director of Japan Studies at the American Enterprise Institute, also author of the book, The End of the Asian Century. Sir, thank you for joining us. Do you agree with what she just said?
Well, she's absolutely right that we can't trust Kim Jong-un. The fact whether he's rational or not, the North Koreans are crazy like a fox. They continually press and probe and cause provocations, and yet don't ever step over that line that causes anyone to take them to account for it.
Well, step over that line. I mean, she was outlining, look, in 2016 alone, we've seen 2 nuclear tests, 24 ballistic missiles by North Korea. That's something the world needs to be very focused on right now. Is she right?
Absolutely. What they haven't done, though, is cross the line of directly attacking, for example, a missile in South Korea on its territory, or Japan, or let alone the United States. North Korea is very wily, and what they've learned is that we really don't have a lot of will to try to confront them, so they just keep figuring out how farther they can go. And in the meantime, by the way, as we sort of wait and figure out if negotiations are going to work again, they just get better and better at these missile tests and their nuclear tests. It's a huge problem. Yeah,
you said they haven't done it, but they do say that their goal is to be able to reach U.S. bases in Japan. How close are they to that goal in your mind?
Melissa, they're probably already there. I mean, they have a range of medium ballistic missiles and short-range ballistic missiles. What we're really worried about is the long-range ones that one day could hit Hawaii, Alaska, and the West Coast. But the fact is we've watched these missile launches go over Japan already, near Japan. They could hit our bases in Japan. They could also hit Japan's population centers.
On top of all that, I mean, if you look back at the story we just saw about Kim Jong-un's half-brother being killed with that nerve agent, demonstrating both that they have it, that they're willing to use it in a civilian space. I mean, after all that happened at an airport, does that trouble you? And what does it tell you?
That's crazy. I mean, they brought a weapon of mass destruction into a public arena. What it tells us, first of all, is that they have a huge network of agents that they're able to insert into third countries. They've planned these operations. They're ready to go basically at the drop of a hat. We have to be very concerned about that, as our allies do. We need to help our allies and other partners root out any North Korean networks that may be in their countries. But what it says is that certainly if you are perceived, even potentially, as a threat to this dictator, you better be watching over your shoulder every step of the way.
Where do you rank them in terms of enemies? I mean, there's so much we're focused on right now. Unfortunately, there's ISIS, there's Russia, I mean, there's Iran, there's so many things. Where do you put them on the list?
They're a high enemy, but I do think we have to understand that the only thing this regime wants is to survive. They're not out there going to kill Americans in shopping malls. They're not trying to figure out ways of terrorist attacks to destabilize governments. They want everyone to leave them alone, but they want to be able to blackmail us, and they're doing it by destabilizing the region and using weapons of mass destruction when they can.
So what's the best response then, before we run out of time? What do you think is, if that's their motivation, what's the right response?
Hardest sanctions against the financial interests of the family, number one. Making sure that we develop the capabilities of our allies to knock down any missiles that may be sent their way. And number three, making it very clear to North Korea that if you do step over that line, you will cease to exist. And maybe they'll start thinking that they shouldn't be testing just where that line is.
Michael Oslin, great stuff. Thank you for the insight. We appreciate your time.